Hello YouTube. Today we're going to be talking about probably my favorite tool that comes pre-installed on most penetration testing operating systems. Probably if you're in some form of security or IT, you probably should be using this tool against your own organization, company, whatever you work for, because it's going to train them in order to recognize what this is, and that's the Social Engineering Toolkit, and it's going to help them, your colleagues, understand and be able to identify what a social engineering attack is. If you don't know what a social engineering attack is, it's going to be the most common method. People are quote-unquote hacked. The Twitter hack of 2020, I believe, was a social engineering attack against a Twitter employee who had access to the admin panel. 2016, the John Podesta, 2015 maybe, the John Podesta email, that was taken by a social engineering attack. I believe it was a phishing attack of, I don't remember, I think a Gmail or something. It wasn't the actual account, I don't believe, that they attacked, but he used the same password for everything. And that's another thing. That's one of the big reasons why you always want to keep your passwords separate. Like, use different passwords and update them regularly, just so if something like this happens, they don't have access to everything. But yeah, now that I've explained to you a little bit what social engineering is, it's kind of like the art of lying. The better liar you are, the better you're going to be at social engineering. And you want to use this tool in order to help identify with colleagues what a phishing scam looks like, what a Trojan looks like, or like a misleading link or a misleading application. And yeah, if you as I go through and explain just little bits right now, this is just an introduction because I want to go in depth about every tool or everything that this tool provides, because it is such a beauty of a tool. But as I go through it, if you don't have it installed, say you're on Ubuntu, or I think I almost believe it runs on Windows, but Ubuntu, Debian, something like that, where this doesn't come pre-installed, you're going to want to run this command. If you're using the -get, I believe the set has to be capitalized. I'm not too sure. I don't use this because I'm on Kali. I just use the sudo apt install set. As you can see, I already had it installed. And if you're not using Kali Linux or another Linux distribution that automatically updates set for you, this is how you could install it, or install it through the terminal, but also upgrade it, like update it through the terminal. Yeah, it's a small program. It's not, I don't think it's no more than like a couple hundred megabytes. But if you wanna find it in Kali Linux, it's gonna be right here in your social engineering tools, social engineering toolkit. But if you need to open it through the terminal here, it's really easy. I don't see a lot of people know this actually, because it's such a weird, it's sudo sat toolkit, like social engineering, of course, like it's abbreviated. That's a good way to remember it. And then toolkit, but that is a weird way of having the command. But you launch it and then it opens up. This will always be different depending on it's random, I'm pretty sure. It doesn't have any type of like based to like the pattern that it loads. It's always going to be random. Sometimes it's a computer, sometimes it's different spelling, like different fonts per set. Yeah, also if you need to update it, you could always do this. This is probably the easiest way, just launch it and then do 4. But as you can see, you're running Kali Linux, which maintains set. And then you get another one, free hugs. All my people watching, you get free hugs. Hashtag hugs. But this is one of the quickest ways you could set up social engineering attacks to try to educate your coworkers, colleagues, potential people who may not like be very computer literate and know how to identify a social engineering attack. This is going to be your quickest way of performing that and determining if they could realize it or not. It also supports third-party modules. I'm not going to go too much into that. Maybe later down the line after this series. But this is, there's some pretty cool ones out there for set. So this right here, this is like if you're on a time restraint and you don't, this is also really quick. I don't know why this is here, but there's not much in it. And then you have an SQL brute forcer, like this performs SQL injections like a brute force list. Oh, I messed up something there. There's 2 of them. Custom exploits, SCCM attack vector. That's I'm not quite sure what this is actually. I've never used it. User enumeration attack, PowerShell injections are very, very good, useful. But most of the time, you're not going to actually go into the penetration testing thing. You're going to go straight for social engineering attacks. So 99, return to the main menu. 99. I wonder what this says in binary. I'll do that. I'll put that in the description, actually, what this says. I can't read that immediately. There's too many 1s and 0s right next to each other. If you could read that, you might be able to get any job in the world for computers, because that's a skill right there. Just being able to read binary like that, that's pretty neat. But I just clicked 1 there. I don't know why it doesn't show I don't know why it doesn't show everything like as you go down, but I pressed 1 there for normal social engineering attacks. This is where you're going to have a very basically unlimited customizability. I don't know how to word that, but this is where you're going to have most of what you're going to be using. Your third-party modules, PowerShell attack vectors, QR code generator. This is neat. This could send them to a link, I believe, on set. But you could do some crazy stuff with QR code scanning. So if that's something that interests you, look that up. I'm pretty baffled most of the time when I see someone come up with an exploit for QR codes, because they could get crazy, like ransomwares and stuff. This is why QR codes should never exist. Wireless access point attack vectors. That's like, if you've ever seen the honeypot with the Raspberry Pi and Kali Linux, this is a quicker way of doing that. You'll see it even lists most of the Airbase NG. This all comes with Kali Linux, so you don't need to worry, but this is basically a quicker way of doing the honeypot, but I wouldn't recommend doing it like this. I'd recommend actually going through all the steps. That way you know it's done right. Well, this is like, it could mess up somewhere and you wouldn't be able to know. You start, stop. There's nothing much going on there besides the honeypot. Arduino based attack vectors. Actually not sure. I don't own an Arduino board or anything like that. Oh, wow. Maybe I should get an Arduino board. That's crazy. I might get an Arduino board just for that. Then you got the mass mailer attack. That's this is basically just a spam emailer. This works really, really good with these three right here, because these three require you to spread them in order for them to work. Like, they need to be sent to somebody. And this is, like this right here, you can make rats and like keyloggers and stuff. This works really well with Metasploit. You'll see if I go for run your own. This is what they're called. These are basically like rats and like stuff like that. These are neat. I'm gonna go very detailed into these in my series on set, because these are all really, really useful, because these eight speed up whatever you're trying to doing, instead of having to hard code anything or like do anything like that. These will speed it up. You might need to set up like Python server. I think Set actually has, yeah, Set does set up its own server for you, so you don't even need to do that. But this is one of the these eight make it really quick. This one allows you to do your own custom ones. Suppose you need it to do certain functions and stuff like that. There you go. Oh, what the... One sec. What? There we go. Oh, that's a cool one. But then, yep, C1. Now I'm gonna show you 3. I didn't do 3. I did 4. So 3 is just, this allows you to create USB sticks that run as soon as they're plugged in. It's a vulnerability about Windows. This takes advantage of Windows constantly checks every file in USBs and stuff like that. Well, Linux doesn't have all those weird commands. That's why the eject button exists for Windows, because sometimes it'll be processing data in between the OS and that USB, or like your main computer and the USB. It'll be sending data through there, and then sometimes you could get a corrupted file or something like that. But this takes advantage of that because Windows immediately reads it, unlike Linux. And so if you say you make one of these, right? You put it on a USB, a nice 128 gigabyte USB, just leave it chilling somewhere in a parking lot somewhere, something like that. Leave it on a desk at your job or something. Someone will take it, plug it in, and it'll automatically launch it'll automatically launch the file as soon as it's plugged in. And that's why you've always heard never plug in USBs that you find on the street. There is a way you can do it, like just plug them in and you'll be guaranteed safe. You can delete everything off of them. I'm not going to go into that today. Again, this is just an explanation, like just an overview of everything the Social Engineering Toolkit offers. I'm going to go back. Also, I think, is this what this one does? Nope. All right. File, new tab. This one's my favorite. It's got all these different exploits in here, but I'll go very more in depth. But my favorite out of them all, because it's so simple, is number 3, the credential harvester attack method. It allows you to use a template. I believe you get like 3 templates or something. Then you could clone a site, or you can make your own. I think it's making your own. I don't know. I don't ever use 3. Yeah, yep, that's what it does. You just copy HTML or whatever. That's neat if some websites actually have protection against doing the site cloning. I know that, like, it'll say that it timed out or something like that, so when they try to go to the link, it'll actually what is it, number 2? Yep. When you do when you use this this method right here, you'll end up having to send them your IP address unless your IP address is attached to or what they're called. Unless your IP address is attached to a domain name, which is where no IP comes in very handy for this, because you could always change your no IP what domain so that it could, if you pay for no IP, you're pretty much golden in setting up this. But if you could still use it for free and still get some pretty good what they call links for someone to click on that look kind of believable. And you don't want to make them too good if you're doing this for work purposes, because you need to identify people who actually may not, who just believe everything they see on the internet. It's the best way to put it. Like, people who might not be able to identify when an email or a text message is lying, and they may actually one day get their credentials stolen, and then they're putting the entire company at risk. So you don't want to. This is probably the most dangerous out of them all, in my opinion, just because if you're a good liar, you could easily get someone to easily get someone to click one of these and type in their credentials, credit card number, or anything like that. And it's pretty. This one is probably the most dangerous. So you don't want to be too good, because you could make this really, really good. And then the spear phishing attack vectors. This is like this basically allows you to make what they called. This is basically like the mass mailer. You see the one mass mailer attack. Create a file format payload. This is like almost like a Trojan. Create a social engineering template. Like, say if you were trying to test, like trying to get employees like login credentials for the actual company themselves, you could set up a whole template for like the email and stuff and mass email it to everybody without everyone knowing that you did a mass email attack. And then you could just always have this. It's a template. You could always modify it or whatever. But yeah, my favorite's probably number 2, because this one's crazy. This one you could, especially number 3, you can make that so good. Yeah, that's basically my overview of Social Engineering Toolkit. I hope you guys join me back when I cover an in-depth analysis of everything in this. I'm probably going to do like, I might do attack vectors in one video, go over different stuff in this one, another video, this one video, like that. So it may take a while for me to get through everything that this toolkit has to offer, but it's worth it. This toolkit is definitely worth it to learn in a pretty in-depth way. This is going to be how you this is how you're going to educate people on cybersecurity and all that, like all your colleagues and all that. So please like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope you have a wonderful evening.